name's Stone, and I'm here with Taylen Peterson and my cat Lola, who's taken a liking to his lap, as most people do. And you're watching Drinking in Bed, as you can tell by the amount of wine and breakfast cereal that we have here. Today we're going to drink some Sauvignon Blanc 2010 Sauvignon Blanc from Medlock Ames. So let's have some wine.
It's early enough, right?
It is early enough.
Never too early. Especially for a nice crisp white.
So, just to begin with, we'll talk a little bit about Medlock Ames as a winery. They are located in Alexander Valley up in Sonoma, and probably one of my favorite wineries. We've actually been there
a couple times.
Yeah,
okay. A few times.
They have this great tasting room, which actually used to be a biker bar from the 60s that they actually reclaimed. So a lot of the wood and, that was actually part of the original biker bar has been reused in this beautiful eco tasting room, which sometimes on the weekends they have grilled pizzas, and you can just go up there and drink a lot of wine. It's a beautiful spot. Alexander Valley is a really tiny, I shouldn't say tiny, but it's a smaller wine area, so it still has that sort of cuteness that I think a lot of like what people sort of romanticize about wineries, like,
bigger ones that get lost on.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you watch movies like Bottle Shock where they talk about, you saw like sort of the how Napa kind of got put on the map. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was that 1976 Paris tasting that put Napa on the map, and that sort of cute farmer winemaker thing is what Alexander Valley is, and it's definitely what Medlock Ames is. So yeah, we are going to be enjoying this Sauvignon Blanc 2010, which, here, cheers. Cheers to, I don't think Lola's gonna, she might partake.
Maybe later, after we've had a few more sips.
She's probably just gonna work from lap to lap until she, gets all the attention that she wants, and then she'll probably bite me and leave.
Typical.
So what I like about this wine is, what I love about Medlock Ames in general is that their whites tend to be on the clean side. They're never overly buttery, which I'm just not a personal, I don't know if you like buttery wines.
I do.
Okay. I tend to shy away from buttery wines. Do you have any favorites as far as like winemakers in that space, or you just?
Not as far as makers, but no, I do like buttery, especially as you get more towards on the red side of things as well. It gets more into that side. I like things that are going to be on that side. But when it comes to a white, crisp is nice for refreshing on a hot summer's day, or when you're outside.
Or if it's like San Francisco in November.
Oh yeah, San Francisco in November when you get that one beautiful day. It's always good as well. But no, I do enjoy a buttery wine from time to time. It's got that thick flavor, but not what this is.
This is not
sorry.
This one is
going down the wrong path.
Well, this one, I mean, it's an odd. I mean, the thing that's great about Medlock Ames have a really unique balance of interesting and classic. So this is, I would say, a pretty classic tasting on some levels. It sort of has that kind of fattiness to it, so it lingers, but it still manages to feel clean and crisp. It's sort of herbal and grassy. So it's a nice, I don't know, it's a nice white. Like for me, I could drink a lot of this.
Yeah, I would agree. I would tend to agree.
And that's what I look for actually well, that's what I look for in most wines. But it's definitely something I look for in a white, because I'm looking for a wine to be refreshed with.
Yes.
Whereas a red, I want more of an experience. Whites, it's like I want to enjoy that on the porch with some good friends and good food, and I want to drink it all Sunday long.
Exactly.
Or early in the morning on Sunday in my bedroom.
Like today. Like we are right now.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that it kind of has that lingering fattiness to it. Do you know what drives something like that? Or?
So I think that's part of the fermentation process. There's this malolactic acid, which kind of leaves that's sort of what causes some of the buttery fat flavor and also experience that you get in wine. In honesty, I'm going to have to look that up because I'm kind of forgetting at the moment, but that will be in the show notes. So anything that I get wrong, which can happen, I will correct and put into the show notes.
Or you can feel free to call them out on it.
Yes, yeah, just find me on Twitter and say, dude, you're totally wrong, as Taylen does often. Speaking of Twitter, you can follow me at Jerry James Stone, and
you can follow me at Taylen24.
And you can tell us that we're both wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you can request that Taylen wears less clothing, whatever.
Or more better.
Which, as we drink, might happen. We have a few bottles we're going to be going through here today. So getting back to, so I think that's the malolactic fermentation that causes that sort of fattiness to it. And I think depending on how long the winery lets that happen, it's just how buttery a wine gets. So this, I mean, even though this is crisp, it's chewy too. I mean, there's some meat to this wine, which is difficult in a white to have and not have it be buttery. So, I'm always impressed with what Medlock Ames does. They're also pretty sustainable, which is another thing that I really like about them outside of the eco tasting room and biker bar. They're organic. Their their vineyard is certified organic. It's a great little. You can't actually visit the vineyard. The tasting room is sort of separate from the vineyard, which is a little bit outside of the norm. Like most places, I mean, that's sort of like the winery experience, right? You go wine tasting.
You want to look around a little bit.
Right.
Experience it. Yeah.
But they did it differently, and I'm not really sure why. You'll have to pester them. You can find them on Twitter at Medlock Ames. So, but yeah, they have it separate. But their vineyard is pretty cool. It's up against this wildlife preserve, which the thing that's great about that is they have built wildlife corridors throughout the whole vineyard. So deer and mountain lions can still sort of make their way through without actually destroying the vineyard, which is a huge cost.
Extremely important, yeah.
Yeah, because we don't want them messing with the grapes.
Exactly. We don't want them coming and picking out all this deliciousness before we have a chance to get to it. And another thing they do is the owl boxes that they have set around, so they don't actually have to use any pesticides or anything to kill off any rodents or anything that comes around. They can just have their owl boxes set up. And you were mentioning to me before a little bit about them, how specific they have to be.
Yeah, so part of being certified is you cannot use any sort of pesticides. And so as a natural pest deterrent, they use owls, which though they seem kind of fluffy and cute in Harry Potter, they are not actually fluffy and cute, and they're very, very mean. And so you have to actually you have to have the owl box be the right size, because the larger owls will eat the baby owls of other owls. So you have to make them big enough so and I forget exactly the size or which owl it is that they want to attract, but I'll put that in the show notes also. But they have like a very specific size to allow that owl to come in, nest, but not have the ginormous other owl eat it.
So it can still survive and still do its job, and not having to worry about its superior owl coming through.
And the worst part about, I mean, it's actually kind of gross and cool, but you know, I mean, it's a natural form of pesticide, which means these owls are, you know, you can just put 20 or so of them in a vineyard, and they just kind of hang out and eat anything that moves. But you get this sort of like perimeter of spit up rodent bones around the owl boxes, which like when I visit a vineyard, I'm like, oh, that's like disgusting, but yet charming, because it's like that's nature, right? I mean,
I think it's awesome. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Just a pile of bones, like picking their teeth with it. Like, job well done. I protected those grapes.
But yeah, it's a pretty common form of natural pest control, because rodents can be rodents and like, you know, they're just a huge issue for vineyards, because there's all these tasty grapes that they just want to chow on, and so keeping that in line, using something that, you know, built by Mother Nature and not built in a laboratory is obviously a wonderful thing. But yeah, so that's a couple of the things they do. They have this wildlife corridor. They have some owl boxes. Really great vineyard. And I think that, you know, the tasting, I mean, I wish the tasting room was at the vineyard so you could kind of trek through it. I think that they might provide tours of the vineyard if, I think that's something you can schedule, but it's not like you can just show up. So, so what would you, I don't know, do you like this one? Is this a wine that you would drink a lot of? Or?
Yes, this is definitely a wine I would drink a lot of. I would probably, like you'd said earlier, take it out on the porch or bring it to a park with me since we are in San Francisco and sit in the sunshine.
Which is not legal, by the way. No one should do that.
Never. But you should, I would just sit outside, enjoy it in the sunshine. Like you said, have some friends over, get it nice and chilled, and have it as a really refreshing drink that you're going to have a couple glasses of, a few glasses of, with a few people. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's sort of an interesting wine too, because I think it's pretty versatile. I mean, I think you actually could enjoy this in the wintertime also. I mean, it's not just a summer wine. You know, it's bright, but it's hefty. So, I mean, I think that, you know, a cold...
It has staying power.
It has staying power.
Through the seasons.
Yeah. What I like about it, outside of the fact that it's not buttery, it is meaty, but it's not buttery. It sort of has that chewiness to it. It kind of lingers. But it has this sort of bright melon flavor to it, like sort of the rind part of it, so it's slightly bitter. I mean, I think that there's... this is the kind of white that I would serve with grilled vegetables. I mean, just, you know, grill the heck out of a bunch of summer vegetables and a couple cases of this.
Yeah. Yeah,
and I might even invite friends.
Maybe. And I think that going along with that, what also helps with that for me is kind of the little bit of a tartness that comes out of it as well. That's what sticks out the most to me right away, is just it has this tartness that comes out. And I think that's kind of going back to really balance out, you know, like you said, a grilled vegetable, something thrown on the grill and kind of charred up a little bit, and then you have this nice tart wine, this nice crisp wine that's going to go with it.
I forgot to look up how much this wine is. That's something that's probably important. I'll put that in the show notes also.
There's going to be a lot of show notes.
There'll be a lot of show notes, especially as we continue through these other 3 bottles. But yeah, I mean, I think the price range on most Medlock Ames wines are somewhere between $20 and $40. I mean, they're not cheap wines, but they're not super expensive.
They're not going to break the bank.
Yeah, they're not going to break the bank. But I would say that the most important thing to do is if you have the advantage of being in California or visiting California and you're going to make your way to wine country, definitely go to Sonoma. Definitely hit up Alexander Valley, and most definitely stop by Medlock Ames, because they have a great selection of wines. Like, this is just one of the many that we're going to be reviewing here on Drinking in Bed, which is what we're doing, drinking in bed. But I mean, you won't be disappointed by anything that they have to offer, and you will definitely be walking away with a lot of wine.
Yes.
And I think that this 2010 Sauvignon Blanc is probably one of the many that you will have in your little wine carrier.
It is wonderful. And then if you had enough wine in you and you want to switch it up a little bit, you can go right around the corner from the tasting room is the biker bar that converted into now just a bar.
That's actually, yeah, we should talk about that too, because the tasting room it's sort of the split thing. I mean, it's really, I mean, if you think about its brilliant marketing, the tasting room closes at 5 p.m., which is right when the bar opens up.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. But like on location at the tasting room / bar area, they grow a bunch of fruits and vegetables also, but you know, also herbs. I mean, they don't just, and they farm the same way there that they farm at the vineyard, so it's all organically grown. I don't believe it's certified because you know that involves a whole process that you know they're just kind of doing that to serve stuff there, but they actually do grow all this stuff organically, and then they create a lot of sort of seasonal cocktails out of that. And I actually have a few videos on Cooking Stone with making those cocktails at the Alexander Valley Bar, which is like the official name of that bar. We made a spicy margarita, which involves jalapeno peppers, and it's like that. Speaking of things that I could drink a lot of. Yeah, I mean, like there's another lavender cocktail. I can't remember what the name of it is though, but it's on Cooking Stone. And if you look for Medlock Ames under Cooking Stone, you'll see these. You can get the recipe, but it's actually worth just visiting the bar because it's a really, really great sort of special location that they really tried to capture what was there before. I mean, you don't just take over a biker bar from the 60s, and it wasn't like Vegas where they bulldoze it and just completely start over. I mean, they really wanted to capture that spirit and but also be true to what they're doing, which is making great wine. And I think they definitely have
that's
that.
the nice thing about the split is that you have a little bit of both in one spot.
Yeah, definitely. So visit Medlock Ames in Alexander Valley, and if you don't get there in time for the tasting room, there's always the bar, which probably serves their wine also.
I would think so.
I've had a few drinks there where they've made like a reduction using some of their wine, so you won't miss out. But the thing is, they have great food at the tasting room, so I suggest getting there early, and probably have someone else drive.
Exactly. That poor soul.
Oh, cheers.
Well, cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.